This is part 4 of Christian Church History, recorded by Jimmy Cooper. Okay, we're back together. I want to see about finishing this up right now to get the rest of this done. Like I said, this is just a short version. I'm not getting into too much detail. I know it's still long, but church history is very long. But I'm just going to get in a couple things right now. If you remember Acts, or should you say, you get your Bibles there, open to the Acts 8, chapter 8, verse 26 to 31. I'm just not going to read the whole thing, but that's where I'm talking about at the moment to start off with. It's about that Ethiopian eunuch. God sent Philip to teach and baptize the Ethiopian eunuch that was passing in that area. But if you recall, I believe it was verse 27 there, and he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority under Candace, a queen of Ethiopia, who had charge of all her treasures. They had come to Jerusalem to worship. Now, what Philip did was, the man was reading something, I believe it was the book of Isaiah. It's all right there in those verses there. And it was something he didn't quite understand, and Philip explained it to him, taught it to him. And the man asked, and Philip talked to him about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the man accepted this and asked to be baptized, and he was, right there on the spot. The question here is, why was this Ethiopian coming there to Jerusalem area to worship? Seems to me they could have did that right here he was at. Well, this goes back to something else, someone else. Remember Solomon and Sheba? Well, they said that those two had a son. She went back to, after she left Solomon's area there, she went back to Ethiopia, and on the way back, from what I've been reading, she had a baby on the way back there. So apparently she was pregnant when she left. Now, one of the things is what the eunuch did. He brought Christianity. What Philip taught him, and he took back to Ethiopia Christianity. But Solomon and Sheba was long before this time. I mean, this was very long. I'm not sure. I didn't check out how many years it was, or it might even been a whole 100 years or 1,000 years. I'm not sure. So you have to check and look that up yourself. That's something I've been asking you to do all along, to start looking up things for yourself, to even check behind me. And you'll probably find a lot of different people with different views and different dates and times, but they'll be close. Very close as far as dates. They'll be close. All right. Why would the Ethiopian travel to Jerusalem to worship? It came from Solomon and Sheba. Seems that little child she had was a male child. Now, I'm going to attempt to say his name, but he came like the emperor of Ethiopia when he became an adult. Yes, he did. He became the emperor of Ethiopia, the man in charge running the country. And these were not Caucasians. These were black people from Africa, Ethiopia. His name was, I'll spell it here, M-E-N-E-L-I-K, the first. Menelik, as maybe I pronounce it, but I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I couldn't find anybody who knew exactly how to say it. But originally the name was Ibn La Hakim, which is Arabic. Okay? And it meant son of the wise. And he was the first Jewish emperor of Ethiopia. Now, how did he get to be known as a Jewish emperor of Ethiopia? And he said, well, how's this Bible history? Well, it's history. That's how Christianity got down there, into that area, through that one little eunuch. When he went to Jerusalem area to worship. You wonder why he went. Well, he went because they were worshiping under Judaism because of Solomon and Sheba and this young son of theirs, who became the first Jewish emperor of Ethiopia. Traditionally, is believed to be the son of Solomon son of Solomon and Sheba of ancient Israel, and she was the queen of Sheba. Now, what happened when this young man was growing up? He wanted to visit his land, visit his father. I'm going to keep this short as possibly can, just to get the point across. All right, King Solomon had intended to, when he got there, he was accepted by his father. He was coming into reaching adulthood. So, King Solomon had, before this gentleman was going back to his home in Ethiopia, King Solomon, from what I had been reading, intended to send him back with a few things, but the young man wanted something to take what had been. The covering for the ark is one place that is read where he had asked for to take back. He wanted something from that ark, and Solomon was giving him another place was saying what he received was a copy of the Ark of the Covenant. The whole thing. It was just a copy, and not just a little covering. Now, how true this is, I can't say, but this is what I've been reading. They said this is just some old books also, and it's also part of the word handed down in Ethiopia ever since that time. Now, he was supposedly had a replica of the ark on his return back to Ethiopia. But to Jesus credit some with bringing the Ark of the Covenant to Ethiopia, the real one. And if you find out, if you check up on they had it on the news, they had it you just find it everywhere, even encyclopedias, that they claim there's a church there that they say there's a building that's supposed to have the Ark of the Covenant because this young man brought it back. Well, we don't know the truth because they won't show it to nobody. But the records show that he brought something back, so something's there. And Solomon had intended to send in one son of each of the nobles and one son of each of the temple priests with Menikhet, Solomon Sheba's son, upon his return to his mother's kingdom, Ethiopia. Now, he was supposed to have a placement made of the ark, and he was going to take a replica back. Now, the company formed from the firstborns of the sons, as I had mentioned, of his kingdom. And some of those priests' sons could have ended up priests. So now they were not happy. According to what I read, they were not happy. The company-owned men were upset over leaving Jerusalem. So they smuggled the ark from the temple and out of Solomon's kingdom without Menikhet's knowledge. But I didn't know that he was carrying the real ark back. He had asked Solomon only for a single tassel from the covering over the ark, and Solomon had given him an entire cloth. And another place said Solomon gave him a replica of the ark. So he brought back something. I can't say for sure. We don't know. But he did bring back something. And the replica, we don't know what's there. That's up for them. That's not what this is about. But that's how the eunuch became a new Judaism. They were worshipping that. That was their religion. When Sheba went back, she brought that Judaism religion back with her. Okay, so I just want to put that to you. That's part of the history of the Christian history. Yes, Christianity did spread to Ethiopia, and right now there are in Ethiopia there's different forms. There's Catholics, there's Orthodox churches, there's Protestant churches there, but it all started with that one eunuch that God sent Philip to meet on the road. And that's how Christianity got there. God has a way to getting the word around, and he used that one eunuch to do that. But he used it through Judaism. Some of them changed. All right, I won't go any further with that one. Read that up for yourself. I spelled the word for you, his name, and look him up and check him out in encyclopedias and check him out in encyclopedias on the web, and you'll find that there was something to that. All right. There was another lady. Now, we're up in the 1500s now. At the early 1500s. Her name was Mary Tudor, Tudor. All right. She was running the show there in England and Ireland until her death from 1553 until around 1558. The dates might not be precise, but that's close. All right. The Protestant Reformation in England during a period of a religious conflict between Catholics and Protestants, and she was in charge during those times. But she was a queen. They said, well, how can she be the queen and in charge? All right. She was called a Queen Regnant. Regnant. Of course, you know I might not be pronouncing that correct, but that's why I spell them. And when you're that, she is a female monarch who reigns in her own right. She doesn't come under her husband. She is in charge. So that's how that happened. Now, under her, some things happened. Her brother, who was running the show, died. He passed it on to one of the other sisters. And the other sister and Mary Tudor didn't get along. And next thing I know, make a long story short, you had to look up on Mary Tudor, Queen of England, 1553. The other sister died. She ended up being beheaded, from what I read. And now Mary Tudor took over. As the fourth crown of monarch, when read this here, of the dynasty, Mary is remembered for the restoration of the Roman Catholicism after the short-lived Protestant reign of her brother. So what he was doing, there was people before Martin Luther trying to change the church in Rome and other places, and the Church of England also. And they were getting into trouble. And this lady was strongly against any Protestant teaching, books or Bibles. You know, at one time, even in Rome, the people did not have any Bibles. The priests, when you went to service and classes or whatever they were doing other than services, the priest taught them everything by word of mouth. They had no Bibles. Now, same thing was in the Church of England. You were only allowed to have what they were using for their Bible, and it was Catholic. And then there were some changes over, and people didn't want to come under the Catholic control and power, and they were called Protestants, and she rejected this. Mary Tudor rejected it. As a matter of fact, she was kind of brutally rejecting it. During her time, they said she had around 280 religious people burned at the stake, believers in the same God that she believed in. All because they did not want to follow the Roman Catholic way of worshiping. That's right. Another place I read there was 300 people that she had executed. They burned them alive. Now this is Christians killing Christians. Basically that's what it was. Christians killing Christians. They were protesting each other. The Protestants were protesting the Catholics were protesting them. She put a stop to it. I'm going to wipe all you Protestants out. I'm going to kill every last one of you got a Bible. We catch a Bible in your home. We're going to take y'all out of there and destroy all those Protestant Bibles, and we're going to put y'all to death. And that's what she did. That's what she tried to do. Let's put it this way. She killed a lot of people. The person who followed her was Elizabeth I. Didn't do that. She allowed Protestantism to continue without any harm. So this was some rough times. This was several hundred years, from 53 to 58, from what I've been reading, 1553 to 1558. So if you lived in England province, you was getting yourself in trouble. And I think they was doing something in Ireland too, because one of her husbands was the king of Ireland, and she married one of them. That made her queen also. So read up on her if you don't believe anything I'm saying. But these were some rough times if you was not a Catholic. Now, it's a gentleman named, like I said, that there was a lot of other people before Tyndale and Calvin who were trying to make changes in the church. And some of them, they were not trying to, people before them, some of them died. Many of them died. Many of them had to leave the country. Before they weren't died, some would be put in prisons or the dungeons and just left there. Spent the rest of their lives there. And all the books and things that was written by them, they tried to destroy every last one of them. All right. A gentleman named William Tyndale. Now, I'm going to read something about him and let you know something about him. Was the first, he first translated the parts of the Bible from the original language, Greek and Hebrew. He was very frequent, I won't say frequent, he was very good in speaking those languages. He took them from those languages and wrote them into English for everybody to read, not just the priest reading it to them and teaching them. They can have their own Bibles, take them home and read, just like we have our own Bibles today. He was the first one to put it into English in England, in the English-speaking area. From what I understand, Martin Luther's first Bible that he wrote, that was in German, in their language. But this is the first English Bible. And from what my understanding, the King James Bible, that is 1611, the New Testament, I have read many places when I was in some classes also, they said that about 90%, if not more, of the New Testament was the same and identical to the Tyndale Bible. So Mr. Tyndale, he got that through. They tried to destroy his Bibles and everything during his time. He had to leave the area and do some writing also, because he wasn't allowed to do it there in England. He drew it from Hebrew and Greek. It's written from Hebrew and Greek. Now, Mr. Tyndale did die, of course. He was one of the ones who got martyred. I used the word martyred because that's what happened. They're saying that what I've read in several places, William Tyndale. I'm going to read the words to you. William Tyndale, before being strangled and burned at the stake, cries out, "Lord, open the King of England's eyes." That's at his death. Now, back in the Romans' time, they were persecuting and killing Christians. If we believe in the Christian religion, I won't say religion, we believe in Christians who followed Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and didn't follow after things, didn't bow down to the king, the emperor in Rome and so forth, like they were gods. You were persecuted, killed, the whole bit. Put in the arena to fight the gladiators, watch the lions eat them, and things like that. That was all true, folks. I know it's a terrible thing, but it's true. But guess what? The persecution is still going on today. That's right, persecution is still going on today. They may not be killing one another. No, they may not be killing one another, but they sure are criticizing one another in a way that it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's almost the same, except they're just not killing them. One religious denomination says we're the only ones. Another denomination said all the rest of them don't know what they're doing. They're all wrong, don't understand the Bible right. And we're the only way to get to heaven. If you're not with us, you're not going to heaven. People are evil and blah. This one group says that. They talk about they They talk about the Mormons. They talk about the Seventh-day Adventists. They talk about the Jehovah's Witness. Everybody talks about each other. Well, God is not the author of confusion. Now let's get that straight. They are doing the same things the Romans did to the Christians. And now here's the Christian church was doing it back in the 1500s. People couldn't have their own Bible, couldn't worship the way they wanted to worship. They were criticized, and some of them were killed. Well, the same thing's going on today, except no one's getting killed. Now, I understand that there are some countries out there that Christianity is not allowed in. If you try to get some books and things in there, they will do some harm to you. I read a lot about that. That's still going on today, too. But here, I'm in the United States. They're not killing anybody, but one thing's for sure, there's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of you're right and you're wrong and I'm right. You're going to hell stuff. Well, basically, this is still the same. They was doing it in the 1500s. And yeah, look at all these different Bibles we have. Okay? And the King James Bible, they'll say, I was raised up and reading the Bible in many churches. I was an older man and found out that the Bible I had was not the same as the original King James Bible. It says King James Bible, original King James Bible, and I found out it wasn't. That's right. If you think you have the original King James Bible, you're wrong. The original King James Bibles had the apocalyptic books in it. All of them. Of 1611. They were all there. Around 1680, another priest said, no, these books should not be in the Bible, so no more printing of the King James Bibles with those books in it. And that's what happened to them. You can read up what those books were about. I know people were sure you were all told that those books could not be confirmed and so forth. And they don't think the dates that they were written, they thought they were false, period. Well, up to 1680, people had those books and they were reading them, folks. I'm going to tell you just like it is. Now, they also had an original King James Bible, written in English, even in this country here. The name Jesus was not in those Bibles. I have a little thing on the internet about the names of about that name Jesus and how it got to be Jesus. And that's not the point of what I'm going through this history, but you should read up on that. How it came from one name in this country to another in the English-speaking countries. And there was, according to the New Testament, will have to say this. According to the New Testament, there's power in the name. Under no other name can you be saved. But the English-speaking Bibles are not using that name. I don't get that any further. I just want to put that at you. You check that out for yourself. You can believe what you want to believe, but I'm just telling you what the Bible says. There's power in the name. Can you change a name and it still maintain all of its power? Oh, you're a believer? Make it to heaven, but according to the New Testament, there's power in the name. All right, I just want to go through those little things with you about that, and just to show you that how reading and studying for yourself, because there's a lot of people don't want you to know a lot of things. Some things you need to go out and research them for yourself. And that's what this whole 4 parts of Bible history was all about. The hope that people will go out and search for themselves and not sit there and listen to somebody else. Yes, I took classes. I had to learn things. And I did my own study. I took evangelism class. I took classes at churches. I studied online. I took Bible classes online, got some certificates here and there. But I also did my own studying. There's one class I took online. They were, you had to take tests, and it was not an open book test. Well, anyway, they used a term, some words in there. One thing, and I said, "How come? After the test, a few days later, you get your results in your email and everything. You passed it." But they said, "Well," they said, "Oh, there was some that was multiple choice answers." They said, "I never read that thing. I reread that whole booklet for that thing, and that word wasn't in there. But they said that word was the answer, correct answer, but it wasn't in there. So I didn't know. Now that angered me. I started saying, these people, there's something wrong here. I'm going to drop this course. But you know what that made me do? And that it made me do something that I was even surprised. I was going to check behind them now. So when I looked that word up, I said, I assumed that they put that word in there to make you search and find some truth and do some searching on your own. And I was very happy they did that. Even though I got that question wrong, and they did not have that word in that whole pamphlet, the whole section of that course. It wasn't there. One of those words was Adonia. Yeah, one of those words was Adonia. Those kind of words. Some of those Hebrew words. They weren't that. There was a few Hebrew words that they used that was not in their paperwork, but yet they had it in their test. So when I started looking those words up, because I got, I was looking at getting some hundreds in some of those tests. They made sure you couldn't. But when you go to look up reason why, I said, oh, that was nice to know. It drew more curiosity to learn more. And basically, that's what this whole Bible history that I'm doing is all about. Hopefully that you got this far and want to learn more. Because when you learn more, you'll learn some truth. Truth will set you free. And we all heard that many, many times. In some ways, sometimes truth can put you in a little bondage, or I won't say bondage, but make you feel alone because you know things that other people don't want to hear. Because they got a wall up. Remember that part 2 about the wall. Because they got a wall up. They don't want to hear it. And when they hear it, they just put their fingers in the air and they don't want to hear it. They want to have it their way because this is what they were taught and raised at all their life, and now someone's trying to change it. And that, for some people, that's very hard to do, is change. Some people feel as though I know everything, and that's not right. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, that's up to them. But that attitude is not what's in the Bible. The attitude in the Bible is learn. Learn, learn, learn. The Word of God is food to your soul. And you need to be constantly eating this food. And some of that food you're going to have to search out for yourself and go get it. It's like being out in the wilderness and you ain't got a stove or pot to cook on. You ain't got no food, so you got to search out some food to eat so you don't starve to death. You got to know what berries to eat, because some of those berries might be poisonous to you, so you got to learn. And some things you got to learn the hard way. Well, the same thing with your Bible, my friends. And we're supposed to be teaching these things to our children, but sometimes you can't. Something I learned at one church, you can't feed babies steak. They got to have some milk. They got to grow slowly. And we Christians are the same way. You're not going to learn everything overnight. And sometimes I say, should I use the word Christians? I should say, we the believers and followers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because I've been using that word, or those words, more often. It seems to have more power to it than saying Christians. Who am I following? I'm following the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God who created all things. That's my God. Yes, my God sent His word down here, true enough. But that's my God who created all things. Do your own researches. I'm going to probably have the site pretty soon. Some names of some books and different Bibles. Yeah, I use different Bibles. I think in part 1 I said I have a Messianic Bible that does not use the word Jesus. And it doesn't. They use the word Adonia, Yeshua, Yahweh, things like that. I have another relative who has gone further than that, and he has a problem. Him and his family has similar problem that I have. Is where to worship when you have to know certain things. We're not in the same city, so we're further apart. But I'm just saying to you, that's how it is. There are some issues when you learn too much, and some people are afraid of learning these too much things because of that reason. I had a deacon say to us at a class I was in, beware of some of the books and things you read because they can draw you away from the church. Well, some of the books and things that I've been reading have not driven me away from the church. Well, the people are the church, not the building. Okay? So I'm going to end with this. I'm going to be praying for each of you. I'm going to pray for everybody. I hope people pray for me. I can use a whole lot of prayer. But I pray that God has touched you. If you have listened to these tapes that's this long, it's because God's doing something in your life that God has something for you. I mentioned that earlier. So you keep on learning. Don't go challenge the preacher. Don't go challenge the deacons and that. Don't go challenging them. You'll just make enemies that way. Be silent. You know, they talk about that silent church in Revelations. They talk about that silent church in Revelations. Read up on that. So be silent. Don't challenge everyone. When someone asks you a question, I asked a pastor in the church a question. I said, I asked him, said, do you know where the name Jesus came from? Because that was not the original name there for the Messiah in the English language. They changed it to Jesus, and when they added the J to the alphabet, because J was not always in the alphabet. So when they added the J, the name they used, the whole name was spelled different and sounded completely different than what it was originally in the King James Bible. I said, do you know why they did that? He just sat there, didn't even look at me. Yeah, never answered me. Didn't even look at me. So, okay. I'll let y'all feed on that one. So be careful what you say and do. Some things you may have to keep to yourself, and some things the Holy Spirit will just open your mouth and pour it out there and hit you in the back, and then you can cough right up. Don't be rude. Don't be, if you have to ask questions. I just do things as in asking questions and try not to get into debates with people. Because sometimes debates are fruitless. They'll go nowhere but start arguments with people. So I try not to debate at all. All right, I'm going to end this here. God be with all of you, blessing you. May the Holy Spirit be teaching you, guiding you. May your lives be full of love, peace, and happiness. Amen. Peace with the Creator of all things. Peace.